Welcome back to Horrible Maps. I bet you're excited to see what awful cartographic disasters I've been sent over the past few months, and I'm excited to declutter my email of submissions, but I figured for episode 12 I'd try something new. Usually I give the Horrible Map a score out of 10 for how bad they are. The lower the number they are, the worse they are. But it's occurred to me that some maps are bad for inaccuracy reasons, and others are bad for aesthetic reasons. So why not make a little cartographic graph type thing? This vertical scale will be aesthetics, while this horizontal scale will be accuracy. The final score will be the rounded average between the two numbers. We'll say if something manages to get a 0 on both scales, that will be what qualifies the coveted nope out of 10. So let's get started. This first one is a map sent by Dylan, which was simply the webpage of the UK National Archives for World War I, and wow. Look, National Archives, I kind of expected better. Kaliningrad is missing. This whole area of the German, Austro-Hungarian, Russian, and Romanian border is just bafflingly off. You also forgot to give Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan to Russia over here. For our National Archives, this is admittedly embarrassing. But if I ignore that, it's not the worst I've seen. Admittedly, I actually really like the aesthetic they're going for, so I'll give it a high score on that and a down the middle score on accuracy, giving it a rounded average of 7 out of 10. But seriously, National Archives, you can do better. Next, from Mitchell, we have a rather tiny map that he said was from an old flight simulator. No other details were given, but it's probably a few decades old judging by the graphics quality. A lot of the continental shapes are extremely warped, and it seems like Borneo and the Philippines got squished together into a giant mega island, which is probably how Japan sank into the ocean. But hey, they actually remembered New Zealand! Usually it's the other way around. Overall, as much as I like pixel graphics, this isn't particularly amazing aesthetically, and since continental shapes are the only detail they're going for, I have to give it a low score. That makes the rounded average 3 out of 10. We're off to a fun start, but before we continue, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, Ridge. You're probably expecting me to talk about their wallets, and those are great, but not this time. This time I'm talking about a newer product of theirs, the Ridge key case. Most of you who have keys probably use a ring, a loud, jangly, annoying ring. But you're used to it, right? I was at least, but when given a Ridge key case, it solved a problem I didn't even know I had. It can fit up to 6 keys and they fit inside it like a Swiss Army knife. Even better, just like the Ridge wallet, it has several designs and I got one matching my own Ridge wallet. I never get the noise anymore. And even better, I never get that weird moment where you squat or walk a certain way and the key accidentally stabs your leg. Don't get that anymore. If you use the code EMPEROR with the link below, you can get 10% off an order of your own key case. And seriously, get one. Thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. Next from Peter, we have a picture of a framed wall map in a cartoony style. With these maps, I tend to be lenient on some things because, well, cartoony means things are going to be exaggerated on purpose. That's the cartoony style. However, in terms of inaccuracies that I won't excuse because of the style, a few places are mislabeled. Chile is labeled in Peru, China is labeled in Indochina, and for some reason there's a weird second Japan in between Korea and Japan. Maps like this are tough to grade, so I'll give it a 6 for aesthetic, because it doesn't really do much for me, and a 5 for accuracy, making it a rounded average of 6 out of 10. Next from Charles is a map that is apparently from a 2017 encyclopedia. It's a very sloppy map of Europe. I actually find it kind of funny they decided to avoid making a decision on how to map Crimea by just cutting it off the map entirely. Sloppy borders make this a slightly below average level of inaccuracy, but just seeing a simple black and white line art map makes the aesthetic very boring and therefore very low. So I think I'll place it here, giving it an average of 3 out of 10. From Joanna we have oh god, well, it's trying to show the Schengen zones in Europe, and I think we have a good case here of where the information is technically accurate, but the aesthetic is so awful. Especially when this colored water floods these borders in the Balkans, but didn't fill in the Black Sea over here. Okay, so I think 7 on accuracy, but 0 on aesthetic, giving it a rounded average of 4 out of 10. From Gill, we have a map showing the Emirate of Nejd and Hassa in 1913. At least it's what he said, but there's no label on the map. Either way, there's a lot of weird errors like Kashmir and Lebanon being bodies of water. Then the border between Syria and Iraq is missing. Ethiopia still owns Eritrea. And then this inlet world map showing the zoom is bizarrely morphed in a lot of spots. It's actually more inaccurate in this zoom than everywhere else. In terms of accuracy, it's strange because the Nejd size is mostly correct, but the modern border overlay is wrong. Then the inlet map is just awful. Let's say 4 on accuracy, but a 5 down the middle on aesthetic, giving it a rounded average of 5 out of 10. Finally, we have a map from Nicholas who said this was from a biographical book about Albert Einstein, and is that supposed to be Japan? I mean, I guess based on the labels of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that would have to be it, but who approved this? Who saw this and said, oh yeah, that's totally Japan? I feel like even the average person would know that Japan has like 4 main islands, right? This one looks like a deformed Hokkaido and then a weird Honshu Kyushu fusion island down here. And like, Einstein, he's a smart guy, a genius. I feel like it looks bad when you have a very unsmart map in a book about a genius. I mean, yeah, this gets a 0 in aesthetic, and the inaccuracy is bad enough to give it a 0 too, earning it the coveted nope out of 10. That'll do it for this episode of Horrible Maps. Let me know if you liked the new scoring idea or if you'd prefer the original way. In the meantime, I'm Emperor Tiger Star, and I'll see you guys next time.